Hi, math lovers. Welcome to notes number 26. Today we're going to work with complex numbers. Some great problems for us to try together. All right, so complex numbers started because we had the problem x squared is equal to -1. It really has no real solution. So what they did is they came up with an imaginary number. So when you have x squared, let's think about that. X squared equals -1. So x equal to plus or minus the square root of -1. So this is undefined. This is not real. So if you think about all the numbers, there are what's called complex numbers. And we can break complex into two parts. We can think of them as real, as we've done so far. And then we can break them up into imaginary. We're going to the imaginary world, okay? So real numbers, those are your rationals, your whole numbers, your natural numbers. Imaginary, this is going to a whole new branch of numbers today. All right, so I want you to think about I is the square root of -1. So what would I squared be? So if I took the square root of -1 and I multiplied it by the square root of -1, I would have -1. Good. I to the third. I to the third. So let's see, I to the third, that's the same thing as the square root of -1 times the square root of -1 times the square root of -1, right? So we've already defined what this is. This is I, right? I times I is -1. So -1 times, well, square root of -1 is I, so it's the opposite of I, okay? And then I to the fourth, that'd be like I to the second times I to the second. Well, we know that that's going to be -1 times -1, which is, of course, 1. Okay, so what you should do is everything in this little box you should memorize. The pattern's going to repeat every 4. So I is square root of -1, I squared is -1, I cubed is the opposite of I, and I to the fourth is 1. Okay? So working through these problems, I want you to think about how you would solve the square root of I, or excuse me, the square root of A times the square root of A. We're not going to go straight up and multiply them together. What we're going to do is we're going to need to work through in the imaginary world. So we've got to take the I's out first, and then we could go through. Okay, so like look at the first one I have here. We're going to simplify the square root of -32. So first thing I have to do is take the I out. So it'll be I root 32. And then we know the square root of 32, that's 4 root 2. So 4I root 2. Okay, easy peasy. All right, subtraction. Well, I know I can't do anything here, but they're imaginary numbers. So right away, I'm going to rewrite this as 5I root 6 minus I root 24. Well, you all know what the square root of 24 is, right? That's 2 root 6. So I have 5I root 6 minus 2I root 6, and then I can go ahead and do my subtraction. Notice that they're like now. So 5 minus 2 is 3, so 3I root 6. Okay. Let's get a number 4 down here. For some reason, my time signs printed as little boxes. I'm not sure why. So let's look at number 4. So let's first take our imaginaries out. So it would be I root 5 times I root 75. Okay. Well, the square root of 75, what's that? Isn't that 5 root 3? So I have I root 5 times 5I root 3. Oh, fabulous. So I have, let's see, 5I squared root 15. Oh, I'm done. No, I'm not. I squared. I know what I squared is. Up here, I squared is -1. So I'm going to replace this I squared with -1. So it'll be -5 root 15. Okay, good problem. Let's see, let's pick another one to do. Let's go down here to number 9. Let's go down here to number 9. Okay, I need to go ahead and multiply. So you can either FOIL this or you can use the Punnett square. You know I love the Punnett square. So it'll be 2 and 5I here, and then 3 and minus 2I here. So I can go ahead and I multiply all my parts together. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 5 is 15I. 2 times -2I is -4I. And then this would be -10I squared. All right, cool. I like terms right across from each other, which is great. So it's 6 plus 11I. And then this -10I squared. I know what I squared is up here, right? We figured out what I squared. I squared is -1. So I'm going to have, here in my problem, I have -10 times -1. Well, go ahead and multiply. That's going to be +10, right? So +10 plus 6 is 16 plus 11i. There it is. That's a great problem. How about 11? 11 looks like fun. Oh gosh. I'm staring at number 11. I'm letting it talk to me, thinking about that denominator. I cannot have an imaginary number in my denominator. Remember, imaginary numbers are based on square roots. So you can never have a square root in the denominator. I can never have an imaginary in the denominator. What could I multiply this by that would get rid of the imaginary in my denominator? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Yes, the conjugate. Okay, so let's go ahead and multiply by the conjugate. So it's 2 plus 4i. Numerator and denominator get multiplied by the conjugate. Okay, I know that's really goofy, but I gotta say it's humorous. Let's go ahead and FOIL. I'm gonna write all my terms down. So I have, let's see, 8 plus 4 times 4i is 16i. Inside terms, that's minus 6i. And then -12i squared. All over, FOIL the denominator, 4 plus 8i minus 8i minus 16i squared. Okay, so taking a look at what we have here, we've got like terms right here in the middle, right? I can go ahead and add those up. That's going to give me 10i. I've got I squared here, which I know is a -1, and an I squared here, which is a -1. I have like terms here. Oh, pachoo, they're going to add up to 0. So what am I left with? I have 8 plus 10i. A -1 times -12, that's +12. All over, well, right away, that's going to be 20 plus 10i. Oh my gosh, we're almost done. And then 4, -16 times -1, that's +16. So that'll be 4 plus 16, which is 20. Friends, your last step is just to reduce that. You can write it as 2 fractions if you'd want. I'd write it as 1 plus 1/2 I. Okay, great. Last one, let's do number 12 together. The last question is about solving. Let's move the 25. So it's 4x squared equals -48. Divide both sides by 4. So x squared is equal to -12. Let's go ahead and divide. So x is equal to plus or minus square root of -12. I don't want to lose my reader, so I'm going to show all my steps here. And now my I has to come out. So x is equal to plus or minus square root of 12 is 2 root 3, and I take the I out, so let's put the I here. Now, I have 2 solutions. It's plus or minus, right? I'm solving. I need that formal. I have to consider all of my my possibilities. And notice I have 2 solutions, and my power here is 2. Have fun with your problem set. There's some great ones in there.